struggles of modern society with her parents. But tonight, her mother's invitation wasn't about conversation. It was about lifting Julia's spirits. Unfortunately, her efforts weren't going to work. That workshop was more draining than most, Meredith said gently. That's an understatement, Julia's breath expelled on a sigh. Each week, when I walk into that hospital and stand next to you, I tell myself that our workshops are making a difference. Then I hear reports like Dr. Garber's, and I wonder if it's all a pipe dream, if what we're trying to do is like trying to boil the ocean. You don't believe that. Besides, with enough pilot lights turned up, even the ocean will eventually start to boil. We're gaining awareness. It's a beginning. You're a lot more patient than I am, and listening to those statistics, it hurts so much. Julia pushed aside her empty coffee cup, remembering the frustration in Dr. Garber's voice as he'd issued his findings to the handful of workshop attendees. An on-staff psychologist, he'd just conducted a study on emotional child abuse and neglect. The results were chilling, and they weren't restricted to any one cultural, demographic, or socioeconomic group. Just as there were all forms of abuse, there were all types of people who resorted to it. 2 educators had spoken up in support of his case studies, one a preschool teacher, and the other a middle school guidance counselor. Their stories of the impaired personality traits of psychologically abused kids had twisted Julia's insides into knots. The fact that some parents physically violated their children was unthinkable. Almost as unthinkable was the fact that large numbers of them battered their kids emotionally and got away with it, since there were no tangible scars to submit as evidence, not to mention that many of them didn't even consider their behavior to be abusive. How could someone fail to realize that neglect and psychological battering were as destructive as physical aggression, especially when it came to young children who were impressionable and who wanted nothing more than to please their parents? The very concept tore at Julia's heart, sometimes so much that she wondered if she was strong enough to continue giving these workshops with her mother. Her mother handled the emotional fallout better, maybe because she was a nurse, and maybe because she was older and more seasoned. Not that Julia had been sheltered. She'd seen the effects of abuse firsthand, and at a very young age. The impact had left an indelible imprint on her mind and heart, and helped shape the direction of her life. But that didn't mean she'd ever be immune to the horror stories. Regardless, the workshops were necessary. Someone had to heighten the awareness of educators and healthcare providers, especially to the more subtle and easily missed forms of emotional child abuse. Meredith Talbot had embraced the task for the past 5 years, offering these weekly meetings on a pro bono basis in conjunction with the American Professional Society on the Abuse of Children. Julia had joined her right after finishing graduate school. With a double major in child psychology and early childhood education, it was the perfect way to augment her teaching career and make a difference in an area so close to her heart. But the path seemed endless. "I'm not patient. I'm practical," Meredith was saying. "And, in your own way, so are you. You're just more emotional than I am, at least on the outside." She squeezed her daughter's hand. "Why not come back to the house, just for the night, if not the whole weekend?" "I really can't, Mom," Julia rushed on to dissuade her mother's fears. "I'm not being a martyr, honest. It's just that I'm expecting a call from Greg tonight, something about theater tickets. And I've got Brian's Little League game first thing in the morning. It's the season opener. He's pitching. I can't miss it." "No, of course not." Her mother's smile was filled with fondness. "I hate to think what will happen when Brian Stratford moves up to middle school. On second thought, I know what will happen. He'll be dropping by your classroom once a week to introduce you to his friends, and you'll be driving to the middle school every Saturday of the spring sports season to cheer him on to a no-hitter." For the first time that night, Julia